Hey up, ghosties. I stopped using my brain for a second. Hey up, punks. How are we? Hello, hello, hello. Stick, thank you for redeeming first, and hello, and congratulations for the spot of a redeemer, and hello, Crumch, hope you're well, and hello, Cyber, and hello, Loki. Hope you guys are well. I think my notification went out really late, so I think it, like, just went out. Yeah, it did. Like, it just went up on Discord. Okay, no, we're good. All is good. I thought I broke it for a second. I did not break it, at least not yet. So I guess we'll see. Well, no, maybe I did. Maybe I did break it. Fuck it, who do I care? Who? Hi. We're talking about writing today, boys. I'm really excited. I don't know if anybody else is going to be as excited or interested in this as I am going to be, but I'm sure going to be. I've been wanting to talk about this for forever. This is probably going to end up being an actual VOD, like an edited video at some point, like for like a fully edited version on my YouTube so people can go back to this. Is this stream an excuse for me to just not be writing myself currently? Maybe. Maybe. Fuck you. Maybe it is. I'm allowed to avoid my own responsibilities. Hello, social anxiety. Welcome in. The person in chat not welcoming my own social anxiety into my brain. Today's kind of fitting. The day I choose to start my comic is that you start talking about writing. Dude, it was for you. It was for you. It had to be. You're the reason. It's gotta be. There's no other explanation. Trying to balance the voices of two videos. Hi, Ollie. Hello, everybody. My name is Xander. Welcome home. Hello. Xander has 3 writing projects and is writing none of them. Listen, you don't have to call me out immediately, but also, it's definitely more than 3. I have a little bit of a problem. Hi, boys. Good morning. Welcome in. How are we? Hello, girls, gals, and non-binary pals. Dad, off-topic question. Shoot. Xander is so me, so real. Listen, being a writer specifically means starting 5 to 10 projects at a specific time and finishing none of them in a reasonable amount of time. That's what being a writer is about. If you sit down, start a book, and then write nothing else until you finish that book, you're crazy, and you're probably doing something wrong. You gotta do in-betweens. Oh, thank you. The hair is recently shaved, and also my face, which is really weird. If you would have talked to me a year ago and been like, yeah, you're gonna have to shave your face regularly, or you're gonna look like Schlatt, it's gonna be like, says who? But I've like got like baby face now, because I've got none of my scruff, but I'm prickly now. How did you shave your hair like that? I want to, but no one has time to help, and I don't know how to do it myself. I decided where I wanted the line to be, which was here, so that it was just the sides, and I just took a comb and just like took all of this all the way back and pulled it straight on top of my head, and then everything from just behind my ear, I wanted that little space there. I took all of this stuff and tied it down at the bottom, and then I just have an electric razor, just bzzz, like bzzed off, and then it's gone. That's it, literally it. Just separate your hair, use a mirror, go slowly, separate it a billion times. Like the line ain't perfect. Like, I don't know if you can see shit, but the line's not perfect, but it's pretty close. Also the fact that you can just see, I'm stubbly right now. I'm all fucking stubbly. I'm full of stubble. But yeah. It's really not that hard to do. It's helpful if you've got a friend, but like, I recommend separating in 2 different sections. So wherever you're sectioning your hair, pull it away from the area you're gonna shave. So all of this stuff here should not be being pulled back. Make sure you pull it against the line that you want. So if you want this line straight here, pull your hair up here so it's straight against it. And this line back here, all of this hair needs to be pulled back that way. Also, the music is so loud. There we go. Also, it's loud for me. Hang on, let me turn it down here. There's a reason that they put barriers on the fucking subway, man. But yeah, so for this line here, pull all of your hair back that way. So you're going to be pulling your hair in 2 different directions to create the really taut lines so that you can shave all this shit off. And start with scissors. Please don't kill your razor. Like, gather all of this into a ponytail and like snip, 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 and then, but yeah. That's about it. That's really the suggestions I have. I am also adjusting myself because I have a binder on today because I felt like it. Because fuck you. Xander, you better teach me how to write. Guys, it's writing time. Okay, how to explain where this idea came from. So, I'm gonna ask the rhetorical question that everybody in this channel usually is able to answer at this point, but how many of you know what NaNoWriMo is? If any of you say no, I will be baffled, because almost all of you guys are my regulars at this point. Which means that for the most part, you've been hearing me talk about NaNoWriMo, if not for the entire past month, you've been hearing me talk about it for the past 4 years, 2 years. I've only been streaming for 2 years, but NaNoWriMo, for anybody who isn't aware, is a once-a-year event that takes place from November 1st to November 31st. 30th, not 31st. From November 1st to November 30th. And the goal is to write the first draft of an original novel in 30 days. So 50,000 words in 30 days. And that's what it is. NaNoWriMo, by the way, stands for National Novel Writing Month. So NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month. There you go. Which essentially that boils down to 1,667 words every day for the month of November. And that's a lot of words. For a lot of people, that's anywhere from like 2 to 4 hours of writing every single day. And if you fall behind, you're dicked. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. It is a lot. Goes to the day of my birth. Hey, birthday celebration is a way to end it is great. Hey, I'm participating in a peaceful protest on Halloween. It's about the 56 challenged book, raising the grad credit to 26.5. It cuts through our lunch, so me and the other protesters I'm aware of are bringing food and snacks so we can have a picnic protest. That's awesome. Dude, that's super fun. Be safe, please, for the love of everything. I know it's peaceful, but it's still a protest. So just be careful, be safe, follow all the protest guidelines, you know. If you're going to be in any danger or you feel like whatever it is, you know, stick with a buddy, cover up any of your tattoos. You don't have those, but you know what I mean. Dress casually, all that good shit. But yeah, so I have a bunch of different ideas about talking about NaNoWriMo. Also, just for all of you, I need you all to be aware of this. He's just there. He has just been there since I opened that window. He's been squirrel watching for almost an hour. He has not moved. So he moves back and forth across the window, but we'll see. So anyways, there's that. So yeah, essentially I've had a bunch of different ideas about NaNoWriMo and making the different videos, and making the different like scripts that I want to talk about and things that I want to encourage people to do and whatever about writing. And so I have a bunch of different concepts of things I want to talk about. One of them is how to come up with a story idea in general. And I have like a whole script. Like when I say like a whole script, I mean like, hang on. Like a whole script written about how to come up with ideas for your books. So like that's a whole thing I wanted to talk about at some point. But then I also have an entire thing that I've been working on about how to write chapter 1. And the fact that Nano starts in 6 days, which at this point is almost 5 days. We have less than a week until NaNoWriMo starts. And so I wanted to cover all of those things, but I don't really know what people need more. So I think at this point, Nano starts in 6 days, 5 days, 6 days, whatever it is. And I might end up doing so. I do have the iPad set up. So if we want to do art while I talk, we can. Once I get settled into being able to talk, then I can doodle and shit. But yeah, oh, he's moved. The cat is here. But yeah, it's essentially at this point, I feel like with 5 days to Nano, most of us have our ideas, right? Like most of the people know what you're going to write if you're actually going to participate in NaNoWriMo, which means we probably don't need to do actual idea planning. And the most useful thing for most people at this point will likely be talking about how to write chapter 1. The reason I slam my hand on the desk down there is because I have a pile of books down here. There's like 6 of them here, plus several fan fictions that I have up. Because writing chapter 1, I don't know how many of you guys are writers. If you're a writer in chat, put your hands in the goddamn air. Also, I have to message Tyrio back because the Tyrio's around. Stream. Oh. Okay, there's that. We'll see if Tyrio's alive. Hello, Wicked. Ellie says, I am not. Emily says, I don't have hands. Lucky says, I tried. Crump says, I am no right. You guys, you guys, this is the most unconfident, absolute least confidence I have ever seen. I can't read. You know what? Great. Good start. Okay. Kind of awkward off-topic question, may I ask? Yeah, Milo, go crazy. But yeah, so if you write, you probably have some experience in the fact that chapter 1s fucking suck. Starting a book is one of the hardest things to do because it's so hard to genuinely put something down that is supposed to draw people in. Chapter 1s have to do so many things, especially if you're writing fantasy, but no matter what you're writing, Chapter 1 has to introduce your character. It has to introduce your setting. It needs to promise the plot of your book. It has to promise the pacing of your book. It has to set expectations for your reader. It has to hook them and draw them in. It has to suspend their disbelief. Everything that needs to be done right in chapter 1, because the reality of it, as hard as it is that if your chapter 1 isn't good, it doesn't matter how good the rest of your book is, because no one's gonna read it because your chapter 1 sucks. And the hardest part about the hardest part about all of this is that chapter 1s used to be the main focus. Usually it was even act 1, right? It used to be the act 1 had to really catch the attention and introduce all of the important things, right? But then it was, no, you need to hook us within the first, chapter, okay? And then publishing houses and publishers have started saying, you have 10 pages. You have 10 pages to impress us. I will read 10 pages. And if I get to 10 pages and I'm not sold, they won't read the rest of the book. Publishers will not read past page 10. They don't care. And half of them will find things within those first 10 pages that stop them before they even get to that point, and they'll never even look at the rest of it. It doesn't matter how good the rest of your book is. But attention spans keep getting shorter because we're the ADHD generation. Gen Alpha consumed the TikTok and the Instagram shorts and the YouTube shorts and the fucking my shorts, and everything keeps getting consumed at a faster rate that it became your first page has to be perfect. Your first paragraph has to be perfect. No, you fucking sentence 1. You get 1 sentence to be interesting. If it's not the most perfect sentence you've ever written, bad book. And it's gotten so difficult and so intense and so much hangs on it, but it's just ridiculous. So it's one of those things that there's a lot riding on it, but it also puts a lot of pressure on us that I think is unnecessary. There's a lot of unnecessary pressure on writers to make that chapter 1 fucking perfect, and therefore a lot of people struggle to just start. So all you get's the title. Fuck the rest of it. But so this is where the caveat to all this goes. This is a stream where I'm going to talk about how to write a good chapter 1 and what not to do to write a good chapter 1. But I want to preface it with the most important piece of information is to write it. And that's as stupid as it sounds, that's the most important piece of information to do. It's not to write it well, it's just to write it. Because once you've written it, you can always make it better. But if you just spend your entire life trying to get chapter 1 right, you'll never write the rest of the book, which is why NaNoWriMo is important, because you don't have time to stop and look back and critique and edit and pause. You don't have time. November 30th is coming. 50,000 words need to be done. The train is going to hit you if you don't start fucking running. I'm sneezing. My sneezes are what are going to come for you. But you don't really have the time to sit around and try to plan out the perfect chapter 1. You have to just get that shit on paper and move the fuck on. There's no way you'll get the rest of your book done. So the rule number 1 of writing a good chapter is just write the fucking thing. That's step 1. Just get it on a piece of paper. Write the chapter. And when you're done with your book and you know what your entire book is going to be, then you can loop around and make chapter 1 perfect. That's your first start. Anyways, does everybody understand that piece? I'll come back and read chat. What's up, chat? Hickeys. Any tips on hiding them? It's light on the neck, asking for a friend. Help, we're both in shit if the parents find out. Hello, Ghost Boo 1234. Welcome home. My name is Xander. Glad you're here. In terms of hickeys, yeah, opposite color. So yellowish, greenish. And slap that on there with a little bit of that. And then concealer, yeah. Yeah, foundation. All that good shit. See what my mom's making for that one? That's the answer. My birthday is coming. No thoughts. Very excited, Loki. Very hype. Also, I have questions in DMs. Going to zero. That's gonna be a solid no for me too. And also, we'll see in terms of. I want you here for the conversation of it, but we'll see about the call piece of. Me and Terry possibly may call for this, but also if I just get on a fucking run, I might just go with it because I think I'm gonna turn this video into a VOD at some point. So I might just go with full rant style. It's full rant style, boys. You want to hear me talk at 150 miles an hour? You've got it. I like your axe earring. Thank you, Crow. Very much thanks. Yeah, I like the axe earring. This one is my broken one. It's got a chip off of it, but I do have 2 of them. But yeah. So, if anybody has any questions or any comments around any of this, feel free to stop me in the comments and ask me questions. But, writing chapter 1's easiest for you, but I can't keep a coherent story going. Help. Yeah, that comes with plotting and how plot works and story structures, like the 3-act structure and the adventure's journey, which I actually have stuff to help that with. So, there's, I have stuff for that too. We can talk about that. I am here. I love your hair. Thank you, Crystal. Hello. I got too gay. Now I have to make sure I cover it for a week. Yeah, it shouldn't be a week. I love when you slip into writing rants, but a whole stream of it, a gift. Yeah, I have no idea how this is going to go. I'm so prepared. I have so much to say. Hereditary is such a good movie. Love that for you, Noemi. Okay. Guys, please just write a story plan / chapter plan. Anything. Yeah, I will say, during NaNoWriMo, there are 2 different types of writers. Planners and pantsers. Okay? A pantser is somebody who is flying by the seat of their pants. Bitch has no idea what's going on. They start writing, there's no plan ahead of them, they're barreling down the fucking tracks and laying them as they're going. They're paving the road in front of their car with absolutely no care for the cliff that is coming and no plan on how the fuck to get across it. But they're just going for it, and sometimes you fall off the edge of the cliff, and sometimes you make your way across and it's the best bridge you've ever made. Planners spend the entirety of Plottober, which is October for plotting for NaNoWriMo. They spend the entirety of October planning and plotting and building intricate characters and foreshadowing and all these wonderful plans, and then they sit down and write a cohesive book. There is no right way to do it. Some people say the difference is between architects and gardeners. So the architects and the gardeners are the 2 different ways you really approach writing. People either approach writing from a methodical standpoint or a creative standpoint, and neither of them are wrong. They're both the right ways to write. Ask any writer in the world and they will have different ideas for you. Most people are going to say, if you want to start writing a book, start outlining your chapters, make a plan, make a character, figure out what the climax is, what is the resolution, what is the rising action. That's what most people will tell you is the best place to start, because most people start there, and most people cannot write a cohesive, normal sounding book without it. Some writers are gardeners, so instead of planning and structuring and building foundations and architecting, they lay down the dirt, which is a foundation of writing knowledge, and they sprinkle in the seeds, which is a creative idea, and they tend to the ideas like a gardener would. And they tend to those seeds and see how they grow and how they shape, and they tend to it, but they don't structure it. They kind of let the story build itself as they're writing it. Stephen King is actually a writer who says that if he plots out his novel, like plans the whole novel out, that it ruins the experience of writing for him, because once it's written, it's written. He's got the plot all figured out, and suddenly the magic is gone. Does that work for everybody? No. Does it work for some people? Yes. It's 100% up to you. It's up to you how you want to write. But you should have some base concept of your story, just in like the dullest idea. You need a setting, a character, a plot, and that's really it. Who are we following? Where are we? And what is that character doing? Everything after that can figure itself off. Off topic question, go for it. Join a D&D club. Very cool. I'm going to sip on some Kofifi. I'm going to try not to give myself a heart attack during the stream because I have so much to say. I feel like I'm going to be teaching a class. Welcome to my class. I am now teaching a seminar on how to write, except the seminar is in my bedroom and the classroom is on Twitch, and we're doing our best. I have so much to say. I've been waiting to impart this knowledge for too long, and now it's built up in my small intestines like a blockage. Ugh. Where do you get the words from? I buy them off the black market usually. This is actually a piece that I really like to be. I like people talking about that one. I don't know if you're talking the ideas or the words. Do you buy them at the store or order them on Amazon? The black market's really an underground thing. I'm the one on games in the back. I'm learning more redstone. There you go. My writing plan took me 5 months because of researching psychology and the spectrum of blindness. Very important sometimes. Usually for writers that comes either very, very early on or at the very, very end. You said a while ago you'd add the quack sound alert as a channel plate redeem. You still haven't done so. How should I write you? Oh yeah. I'm gonna have to see how to do that. I know I can do that, but I know I have to download a thing for it. I'll take a look. It's not at the top of my to-do list. I've been very busy. I'd send that email today. God damn it. I have really bad ADHD, but I will write it on my to-do list so that I get around to it when my brain remembers. My writing is mostly animating and script making, which is a totally different way of writing. There's so many different ways to write. In terms of actually getting the words, I don't know. Sometimes you just have to make them come and they're bad. Like, There's nothing you can do about it. Ollie was encouraging me to do Wump. Ollie was encouraging me to do Wumptober recently. And she got me the prompt, got me my character, I settled it down, and I tried, and everything felt forced, and the words sounded bad, and the sentences felt it's sloppy, and it turned out poorly. But I wrote it, and I went back and read it, and I was like, wow, I really love this idea, and it's really poorly written. Perfect. Now I can go write it well, because I already have the plan, and I can just write it in a way that sounds good, and I'm knee deep into rewriting it, and I'm already so much happier with it, which puts my forefoot back at the thing of write it badly, just because then you'll have it. You'll have something to work off of. And for some people, that means I just need to edit it and, spruce it up a little bit here and there. And for some people, that means, okay, I have the idea written down. Let's put that inside entirely and rewrite this bitch. I've got the ideas, but the words are much harder, but it makes me happy anyways. Yeah. It is a lot harder to put an idea into actual readable, comprehensible words. So let's talk about how to do it. I'm going to talk about chapter 1 today. I have an entire thing written on plotting and how to plot. And I can totally talk about that today too, even if we want to. We'll see how long I end up streaming for and how long I can talk before I run out of fucking breath. But yeah, so here's the thing. You have to have a little bit of a plot to write your chapter 1, because you have to be able to give a couple of things. You need to be able to set your tone, your pace, and your promises. Let me cover those first, so that everybody kind of knows what I'm talking about. Tone, pace, promises are the things you need to cover in your chapter 1, along with covering who your main character is, what your setting is, what is the conflict, all of those good things. Yeah, this is going to be an extra hydration stream. I got my Wawa extra filled up, got my ice in there and everything. I'm ready, trust me. So let's talk about what these things need to be. So step number 1, you need to have your main character. You don't need to have everything figured out. You don't even need to have anything figured out. When I started writing my book for NaNoWriMo of 2019, my main character's name was Sock. And there was 2 things I knew about Sock. Sock was non-binary and used they, them pronouns, and Sock had ram horns. I had no idea what that meant for my character. That was literally all I knew when I started on page 1. And I built an entire world about it. Sock, my beloved Sock, is now called Embry. An Embry is a ram-horned Drorian, which is an entire species I now have the genetics figured out for. A lot happens in writing a book. But you just have to have a character. Maybe give them some traits, give them a little bit of a personality, and give them a couple important things here. They need to have a life they're currently living, and a reason they want something to change, or a reason something's gonna change it. It's gonna be some form of an inciting incident. Your character needs to want something, and they need to need something. And those can be the same or they can be different. It's all those things. So, once you've got a main character who has something but wants something else, once you got that set up, or needs something else, setting. Anything. Anything. I mean it. Fucking anything. Your setting can be the middle of Ohio, looking at a couple of y'all. Your setting can be space. Your setting can be a world I just made up. Your setting can be your basement. Like, it can be the middle of the ocean. Hey now, says Ollie. Setting can be anything. You just need to know where you're going. And then you're going to have some concept of plot. So, when I was looking at plot ideas, I had a couple of different options for how to come up with a plot. There's both of you. But there's a couple of different ways that you can come up with plot ideas if you're ever stuck of, I don't know what to do about that. I can do a whole stream on that if you guys want, or I can go over a couple of the ideas now. It's up to you guys, but any plot is a feasible plot. The thing is, don't worry too much about the nitpicks of it being original, because every plot has been done before. There's only so many different types of plot in the world. There are some authors that say there's only 7 types of plot in the entire world, and they can list them off and tell you how every single story in the entire universe fits into one of those 7 plots. Like, don't stress too much of it. It has to be unique. It's going to be your characters and the little quirks of your world that make it unique. Don't throw yourself off of a bridge trying to figure out how unique to make it. Right? Minor character was forced into their journey because they were chosen without any preparation. Chosen one. That's a plot type. Yeah, the chosen one who never wanted the position and goes on the journey. That is a specific type of the adventurer's circle. The adventurer's journey, whatever they call it. That's a specific type of plot point. Chosen one is a type of plot. Harry Potter is a chosen one. What is my plot type? Do you mean your book? Do you mean, or book, story, world, universe, or do you mean like you as a human being? What's your plot type as a human being? My book. I don't know all of them by heart. I don't remember what they're called, but I would say probably Heart Discovery. Like it'd be a character focused, I'm guessing, Heart Discovery, which is which is traumatic event, experience traumatic event, see the consequences, recovery, growth, rinse and repeat, ever, forever and ever and ever. Which is a really fun way to write. Yeah. I think mine are a chosen one and found family. Found family is a trope and not a plot type, but that makes sense, yeah. But yeah, so once you kind of have those things on your brain, you need to figure out what your 3 main things that need to be in your chapter 1 are. Your tone, your pacing, and your promises, okay? So what is the tone of your book? Tone can mean a bunch of different things, but essentially, you're telling us how seriously this book is going to take itself. You're kind of setting the stakes for everything. Is this going to be a goofy adventurer's story? Then we're going to start our chapter 1 off with that laughing and goofiness. Or is this a really serious life or death situation kind of story? Well, set that tone. Is this going to be a story of loss and mourning and grief? Set that right then and there. You know, get that set up in chapter 1. The reason we like a lot of books is a lot of the times has to do with their tone. It has to do with I almost would call it the flavor of the book. Like, am I reading a tragedy? Am I reading a comedy? Am I reading a horror book? If you want somebody who likes horror books to read your book, and it's a horror book, chapter 1 cannot be silly, goofy, funny, because all of the people who like horror books are going to leave by chapter 1, and all the people who like those silly goofies are going to be disappointed by chapter 3. So you need to set the tone of your book right there in chapter 1, even if by chapter 2 it changes, which is what's important here. You have to set the tone in chapter 1 because you have to hook the right readers. But you can completely throw that off and go back to, if it's a horror book, you can go back to silly, goofy, laughing, everything is lighthearted in chapter 2 because you've already promised in chapter 1, hey, this is here, we'll get here, I promise. Just hold on and wait, hear me out. And then you can do the silly, goofy, you can do the funny shit, you can do the experimental things because you've already promised, hey, we'll get back to this, right? That's what's important about your tone. If you want your story to be very sad and very somber and very grieving, set that tone in chapter 1. Even if in chapter 2, you completely throw it out the goddamn window and everybody's happy and living their best life and experiencing the best that the world has to give them in chapter 2 and nothing could go possibly wrong. You've already hooked the people who want that sad story because you promised it in chapter 1 and said, hey, we'll get back to this. Hold on. Like, you know, it is, you have to promise that tone to your readers. So if you start your book out on a very, you know, the everyday slice of life, casual kind of thing, and then by chapter 3, we're in like the heights of adventure, throwing ourselves off of balconies and hunting down the bad guys, all of your adventure people have left because chapter 1 through 3 were boring, and all the people who were here for slice of life in chapter 1 through 3 are upset because it's gone by chapter 4. So there's why you need to set that tone for your story. Cool? Tone? We've got tone off? Okay. Any questions on that one? Hello, Oblivion. Hello, Willow. We're talking chapter 1s today. No worries about being late. I will catch you the fuck up. I'm having a great time with this one today. I'm gonna do my best to not talk too quick, but I do speak at the speed of ADHD. So I hope any of this is making sense. I'm like trying to figure out how to speak right now. Also, I have chat and chat up. Because I have my OBS and chat, and then I also have Twitch open so I can see chat right in front of me instead of having to look over here. It's just easy. But okay, tone, right? Understood? Got it? Cool. Sexy. You should write a how to write book. I unironically have been thinking about it. Not like a book, but maybe like a video series. What we're doing right now. But yeah, no, this is like genuinely like, this is, I have a degree as a teacher. I could be an English teacher. It's something I want to do. I taught English in a school for a year. Like it is a thing I want to do desperately, but we'll see. Anyways, moving on, the thing after tone, right? tone is your first thing you need to promise. Once you've promised your tone, you also need to promise your pacing. Pacing is a really important one, and honestly is one of the things I struggle the hardest with to set in chapter 1. Because you need to promise that pace of your book within chapter 1, right? I like to think of like Percy Jackson in this one because I think Percy Jackson's movie did it well. I have the book over there as well. But it's one of those things that if this is a fast-paced, constant action-adventure story... I hear geese in the distance. Apollo was sleeping. If this is a fast-paced action-adventure story where things are constantly happening, you should catch me off guard with that immediately in chapter 1. It should be, scene opens, I get hit by a buck. A buck? Scene opens, I get hit by a bus, I go flying through the window, I get raptured by the gods, and then, okay, let's start our story. Let's slow it down and figure out what the fuck is going on. Promise that pacing right the fuck away. Action first. Hit it. If this is a slice of life, casual, you know, character discovery, if this is a coming of age story, if this is a romance story where things are going to move a lot slower, you don't need to start with getting me hit by a bus and sending me flying to the nearest god realm. You can start with that easy slice of life. Show us your characters not waking up in the morning. I'll talk about that in a minute. But show us your character living their life. Show us what the status quo looks like. Show us what a calm, happy, peaceful day looks like. Show me what it likes when it gets interrupted. You know, set that pacing within that thing. Because if I want an action adventure story and I open up your book and it is 3 chapters of slice of life, I'm bored and this is moving too slow. And when suddenly in chapter 17 it picks up and it all happens at once, I'm going to be overwhelmed. Chapter 1 action first and then 2 be like a few weeks prior type thing. You can totally do that. That's one of the ways. Actually, I'm going to talk about that in some of the books over here. I will reference that in a moment. But so yeah, that is your focus in terms of pacing. If it, you know what? Breaking Bad. Weird example. Shout out to Ali for having me experience this. The first, first episode of Breaking Bad. Yeah, there you go. It's like telling someone to watch a show, but warning them that the first 14 seasons are ass. Right. Breaking Bad, first episode. It does exactly what I'm saying right now. It sets the tone for the rest of everything, and it sets its pacing immediately. It literally feels like you start episode 1 and get hit by a bus. I mean, it is immediately like, this is what's going on. And even within that first episode backs you up and explains, okay, you know, I see how you're confused. Let's show you how you got here. But it sets the pace of here's what you have to experience fucking immediately. Like you are already fucking dick deep in it. So yeah, you can do action first, peaceful things later. Or if you are a slower paced book, do your peaceful things first. And you can have it work up to action. But whatever your story really is meant to feel like, if you want characters to feel like they're walking through the story and casually living this piece of life and grieving and mourning and having those slow moments, start at that speed. Don't start with the action, because when it slows down, your action readers are going to be bored. And all the people who wanted that slow slice of life ran because chapter 1 hit them with a fucking bus. So, gotta find your balance there. Not one is not correct or better than the other. That's something I feel the need to make sure we remember. A lot of people say action first and then everything else later. But if that's not the pace of your story, it's not good for you. Don't start your slice of life romance with getting hit by a bus. I'm going to be overwhelmed. Your readers are not going to stay. So find what your tone is, find what your pace is. Promise me both of those in chapter 1. Make sense? Yeah, and that the action first, peaceful things later is a great way of, yep, that's me, probably wondering how I got there. Record scratch thing or whatever. I'm sorry, I'm getting anxious and excited, which means my nose itches. Like, yeah, my first chapter is very slow because the story is slow. Not every first chapter needs action. 100% correct. You promise me your pace on page 1. That's immediate. It's immediate. I have the expectation of this is the way the character is going to be good. Honestly, Cyrena's, I'll get back to her story, Catch Me in Purgatory later. If you want to read it, it's on AO3. I'll actually be reading you a chunk of it in a little bit. But it has a really great way of doing it, because not only did she set the tone and the pace immediately in the first paragraph, but she set it in a symbolic way. Her character starts trudging her ass through the goddamn sand and the blazing heat of the fucking world and looking around at goddamn nothing. And that is the feeling of starting her book, because that book feels a lot like you're trudging your goddamn feet through the sand. Like, it is one of those feelings of characters really trying to get through something. It's symbolic and also just a really good way to set your tone, set your pace. I already know what to expect within the first paragraph of, got it, this is where we are, this is how we feel about it, I'm ready to go. And that's an important piece of this. Like, so this is actually a great way to lead into number 3, right? The third thing here is promise me my expectations, right? So you've gotten my tone, you've gotten me my pace, and now you need to get my expectations, which means tell me what the status quo is and tell me what your character thinks about it. Those are the 2 important things, right? Which is a hard way to sum it up, but it is really the way it all breaks down. You need to show me what is your character's status quo? What are they living through right now? What are they already experiencing? Whether that is trudging through the desert, whether that is living on a rocket ship, whether that is learning how to play the piano. What is the status quo? What is your character living in when we get into this story? And what do they feel about it? Do they love it? Is this perfect? This is their dream life and they don't want anything to change? Great, your plot is going to change it. Is it horrible and they're dread every morning and they're desperate to get out of the situation? Great, your plot is going to get them out of it. Are they, feeling like they're lost and just purposelessly wandering through the wastelands, unsure of where to go with their life and feel like they have no real direction? Great, your plot is going to be the thing that gives them direction. That's what all of this is about. Tell me their status quo and how your character feels about it, because whatever your plot is, it's going to destroy that status quo. It will not be the same by the time your story ends. And even if the status quo is the same, your character will not be. Okay? Which is a weird way to explain it. But one of those 2 things has to change by the end of the book. Either the status quo is going to have completely changed, or the way your character feels about that status quo will have completely changed. Maybe the world stayed the same and your character changed and doesn't fit in anymore. Maybe the status quo completely changed and your character is thrilled that it is, or maybe they're horrified that it is. Either way, one of those things is going to change, and I need to know both of them right off the bat. So, besides me itching my nose, let's go over 3 things that you need to have in your first chapter. Set the tone. So give me the flavor of this book. What am I going to be tasting for the rest of the book? Set your pace. Am I getting hit by a bus or am I walking leisurely down the road? And set your expectations. What is the world like right now and why do I feel that way about it? Those are the 3 things you need to have in chapter 1. How do we feel so far? What's the vibe? What's the energy? Is this a lot? Is this too much? Is this not enough? Does your chapter 1 cover all of this? My story starts off with a robbery of a museum, grabbing jewels that the villains will use in the story, and skipping to the main villain talking to the creatures that grant powers, and a small summary of what the world works, or how the world works. Cyber says no, but I'm currently fixing it. Yeah, everybody, if you're interested, drop me right now. How does your chapter 1 start? Sounds exactly like how I write, so I'm all good over here. Fuck yeah, good, brilliant. So in my book in 2019, I did my first chapter really poorly on my first write because I didn't know all of this back then. I have done 4 years of researching how to write a good first chapter because I have rewritten my 2019 novel more times than I want to admit. I have written that first chapter a lot of times. So the thing with all of this is that once you know it and put it into words, you'll see it in every book you read. But it's so hard to know until somebody has taught you. And it has taken me years of watching videos and attending lectures and learning things to be able to put any of this into words. So my first book in NaNoWriMo, not my first book, my NaNoWriMo book in 2014, my chapter 1 started off with a couple of things. I got my status quo and how my character felt about it. My character was living in a very calm, peaceful town. Something had gone wrong, and they felt like they needed to change it. The status quo was that everybody wasn't looking for their friend that had gone missing, and how they felt about it was they felt horrible, and they wanted to change that. But I didn't set my tone, and I didn't set my pacing. Chapter 1 was very calm. By chapter 3, it all went to fucking hell. So the whole book felt like whiplash. And the tone of chapter 1 was very peaceful and very warm and very welcoming. And by the end of chapter 3, or the start of chapter 3, the tone was very dark and very horrid. My whole book felt like chapters 1 and 2 were a different book than the rest of the novel. So there was a very off feeling about it, which is why it was so poorly written, in my opinion. I didn't promise the right things to my readers. I would have lost most of the readers who wanted to read it. I'm gonna get yelled at when my parent gets home. Oh Lord, the executive dysfunction's been executively dysfunctioning all day. Quick, go sweep and vacuum. That's a nice easy one. You got this. My revised version starts with the main character just skating, trying to find a new hobby, and brutally failing. Villains then look through this magic portal, magic ball thing, and set the MC as their target. Okay, so you have set me the status quo, which is main character is bored of this life, needs a new hobby, doesn't know what the fuck to do about it, you know, feeling bored. And you've also set how they feel about it. You know, they're bored, they don't like it, they're not in for it. And then you've also told me how the plot's going to change that. You've already hit me with the inciting incident, which is that's not going to last long. Obviously, I haven't read it, so I don't know your tone and your pacing. But so far, you know, take a look at it yourself and say, does this fit the rest of the tone? I don't know the rest of your book, so I won't be able to say it as well for you, but it's a good start. My goal for Nano is to write a book where I break absolutely all of these rules. I want to write the worst book ever made. That actually could be really fun. I feel like that would be funny. A 911 call from a girl asking for help in a panic that's cut off by two guys freaking out and ending the call. And then a skip back to her and her best friend at a place where her best friend has to go up on stage, and a guy comes up to her to talk, which ends up being the guy that kidnaps her later on. Haven't read out the kidnapping. That is a awesome beginning. You actually have, I'll get back to this, but you have this type of opening. I'll get back to that in a second. In which you have set the tone, which is dark. We've already got dark panic, you know. I'm immediately interested in it. There's a book very similar on my shelf there that is called Black Ice. Crystal, honestly, look into it. Black Ice by Becca Fitzpatrick is a kidnapping book. The entire book takes place in only 4 days. It is an amazing read. It's a kidnapping book. But so I'm already interested in it. And you've already set your pacing. It's quick. I'm in a panic. Everything bad's going to be happening. I'm freaking the fuck out, and it's over. And we don't know what's happening now, which is great. This is awesome. I think it's a super cool way. You've also shown me your main character, and by skipping back and showing her life, you're giving me the status quo. As long as you show me how she feels about that status quo, which I'm assuming she seems pretty happy in it. Your plot is what's going to change that. So very, very cool. So very cool. My character starts with fighting, and the stream pauses, and the system and her pop out from all directions. Hey, you're probably wondering what's going on. There you go. Narrator style. This type of book. Main character walks into the living room to calm down after a day of school and sees the hero and the villain on the news. He mentions that the hero is his mom, and he hates her because she drove his brother to run away. And now hero has a pressure on him on him to become a hero, but he doesn't want to. The villain is his brother. I'm enticing because I'm writing it, I think. Okay, so we've got. Okay, I like this already. So you've given me your status quo. So you've shown me what status quo is, where a character is currently in their life, and how they feel about it. Both of those quickly established. Then you definitely want to be looking at. I don't know the rest of your story. Looking at the pacing of this. So this is kind of like that. Feels like a little bit of a slower one. Coming home, looking at the news. Unless this is like oh my god, the news. Like just looking at the news, it's a little bit of like, okay, you know, what are we gonna do about this kind of thing? I'm just feeling it's probably gonna have that pickup towards it. And then also the tone, which as of right now definitely feels very, very tense. We have this tenseness in every direction. I have not read all of Catch Me in Purgatory yet, no. I have not gotten to do my full read through. So don't spoil anything for me, or I will light you on fire. My dad was having a deep talk with me. Oh boy. What if I just up and DM'd you the opening section of my first chapter? I actually have been considering, guys, what do you think about, just as an option? I've been thinking about opening up a place that you can submit maybe like, I don't know, like 500 words of like writing, like up to 500 words. Like give me like a little chunk of your book. and I want to do like a writing stream where I can like pull these up anonymously. Obviously, you'll know what yours is. Pull them up, and I can read them and kind of give critique on what is good and what could change and what I think, and you know, how the pieces work together and what you've covered, all that good stuff. I think it could be a really fun idea. If people are into it and I actually set it up and people like the submissions, or like people actually do submissions, I'd be super happy to do it. Well, wait, how would that work for a comic? Ooh, I'm gonna be entirely honest. I'm not as good with, I've never done a comic before, so unless you like maybe send me the script writing, I wouldn't know. I'm definitely more of a novel writer than a comic writer, but I'd be happy to do my best for it. Because again, it's all telling a story. I'd love that. That sounds fun. That'd be awesome. Okay, I will set up a submissions thing for that, and when we get to like 10 submissions, I'll try and do a stream for it. All right, I think that'd be cool. Anyways, I may just write during Nano, but try to do the whole number of words. Yeah, for people who want to do NaNoWriMo and are super intimidated by it, you do not have to finish. You can set your own goal. The universal goal for NaNoWriMo is 50K in 30 days. Lots of people do halvesies on that. Lots of these people do overachievers, which is doubling it and doing 100K. You can do anything like that. No, I mean, I am not speaking like Yoda for 5 minutes while on a rant stream. That's gonna be a solid no. You can get your dare refunded. Solid no, thank you. I'm always allowed to just say fuck that. I'm not speaking like Yoda on a goddamn rant stream. I got shit to do. I got things to say. I have words. Words I have. Anyways. I feel like I've spoken too much now. I'm overwhelmed. Yeah, I'll refund it at some point. Otherwise, it's here. It's there now. Okay. So, everybody understand what we need, because then I can start talking about the different types of first chapters, which is quite a few different ones, and I've got piles of books over here where we can talk about the different types of. I just. Okay. Anyways, I'm so calm. All right. So, chapter 1s have a bunch of different like shapes, a bunch of different flavors to them. There's a million ways you could do a chapter 1, and there's twice as many ways you could do a chapter 1 poorly. So it's kind of hard to figure out exactly how to start your book, and there isn't one specific correct answer, obviously. And again, I want to keep prefacing this. If any of this advice feels bad to you, like if any of it's like, man, that would not help my writing at all, then don't listen. Always err on the side of awesome. Right on the side of, this is my writing and this is what's going to sound good in it. Good. Do that. Fuck everything else. You know, if I give you the hard and fast rule of don't ever start a book with your character waking up from a dream, but you know that's the best way to start your book, fucking do it. And don't let me tell you not to. Don't let anybody tell you not to. Do what's going to be best for your book. Always. Because it's your book. You're writing it. It is an art. And art physically cannot be done wrong. You can't fuck it up. Because it's art. There are objectively good and objectively bad ways that something can sound. You know, there are pieces to it. But there are going to be people who like anything. Anything. There's a million places to start, right? So, since I brought up the concept of your character wakes up from a dream, an alarm clock goes off. I wake up, I get dressed, I look in the mirror, I admire my blonde hair and piercing blue eyes. I plug in my phone, I text my boyfriend, I catch the bus, and I head to school. Great, okay? That is not a chapter 1. Please, for the love of everything that is hell, don't start your books that way. It's not, no, okay? Now, what you're trying to write is a status quo opening. These are okay. You can do status quo openings, but there are 2 different ways I know how to do them well, okay? What I just gave you is a bad status quo opening, right? Because there's 2 different things that need to be different. Either the status quo needs to be something wildly unexpected, or the status quo needs to be the main problem of the story, okay? I'm going to start with the easier version of this, okay, which is the main problem of the story. So the first idea is, if you want your character, right? If you want your character to wake up and their alarm clock goes off and they get ready in the mirror and have to go to school, your status quo that you're setting right now better be the main antagonist in this book. That status quo you are immediately introducing us to better be horrid. It better be the part of the thing that your character wants changed more than anything else, which works for, you know, stories of abusive situations, which I actually have flowers in the attic up there, which is a great example. It better be, if your character is looking in the mirror and noticing their appearance, you better be writing about a character with body dysmorphia or body dysphoria. If I'm looking in the mirror and I'm noticing my body, and that's something I'm consciously doing every morning, that has better be an important piece of that plot. If they're getting dressed, those clothes better be an important piece of the plot. This better be, your character must hate the clothes they're putting on, or they stole the clothes they're putting on. Whatever that first piece is, whatever that status quo you're setting that is super expected, boring, alarm clock, wake up, get ready, go to school bullshit, that better be the reason that we're reading this story, right? So let me turn down my music so you guys can kind of hear better. And also I'm going to turn it down for myself so I can read without getting confused. Okay. So one of the best expectations I have of that is this book. I've actually talked about this on the stream before. I've talked about this on stream several times, actually. This is A Crooked Kind of Perfect, which is by Linda Urban. This is a kid's book. It's honestly very short chapters, very, very short chapters. Actually, this is the shortest chapter that I have ever seen in a book, which is a 2-word chapter. I don't even know if I'd be able to find it. Yeah, this is a 2-word chapter. I do. It's a really fun way to write. The chapters are really fun. But the opening of this book is a status quo opening. It's a book that sets the expectation for this character by setting her expectations in as, here's the normal, and here is what I have, and here is why it's a problem for me, right? So I'm going to give you the opening of this as an example, right? So here is the opening for A Crooked Kind of Perfect. It says, how it was supposed to be. I was supposed to play the piano. The piano is a beautiful instrument. Elegant, dignified. People wear ball gowns and tuxedos to hear the piano. With the piano, you could play Carnegie Hall. You could wear a tiara. You could come out on stage wearing gloves up to your elbows. You could pull them off one finger at a time. Everybody is quiet when you are about to play the piano. They don't even breathe. They wait for the first notes. They wait. They wait. And then you lift your hands high above your head and slam them down on the keys, and the first notes come crashing out of your fingers, fly up and down on your foot in its tiny slipper with rubies at the toe. Your foot peeks out from under your gown to press lightly on the pedals. A piano is glamorous, sophisticated, worldly. It is a wonderful thing to play the piano. How it is. I play the organ. A wood-grained, vinyl-seated wheeze-bag organ. The perfect D-tone 60. Time to let the cat out, apparently. You want out, boy? You going, cat? Cat's gone. He wanted outsies. But yeah, so that is the opening. That is the opening of A Crooked Kind of Perfect. And the following chapter, I know that was a super short opening. The following chapter goes on to talk about how she wants to be a piano player, and she begs her mom to get her a piano so that she can take piano lessons. Her mom tells her to take it up with her dad, and her dad is like, yeah, we can get you piano lessons, and then goes out and buys her an organ, and she has to learn to play the organ instead of a baby grand piano. It's a very basic, very neutral, very normal, everyday kind of opening, right? It's not quite waking up in the morning and getting ready for school, but it's just talking about, I wanted to play the piano and I play the organ, and I begged my mom to let me play the piano, and I begged my dad to let me play the piano. And it's a very human opening. But the entire expectation of the book, I'm so sorry about me itching my nose. I literally cannot stop. The entire expectation of the book is set. It is set with, I want to play the piano. My status quo is that I have to play the fucking organ, and it's horrible. So, that is one of our types of openings. That is the The type of opening where, yeah, you can set me the status quo. Sure, go for it. Wake your character up to an alarm clock and get them ready for school. But it better be important to the plot. Does that kind of make sense? Also, my nose is killing me and I kind of want to die. I may do NaNoWriMo Light, no rules. I'm just write starting in November. I just made this up. Yeah, go for it. Go crazy. Go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Also, I'm singing this song because I hate it. Okay, I can turn my music back up a little bit. Okay, so that's one way you can do it. The next way that I kind of look at in terms of status quo setting, right, is, you know, it doesn't have to be a part of the problem. You could just show me your character doing their status quo, doing their normal, doing their basic, what they do every single day. If that status quo is something we never would have expected or is wildly different than our status quo. If your status quo is waking up to an alarm clock, going to school and getting on the bus and going to school, all of us have experienced that. You don't need to write it. You don't need to write about your character doing things that all of us have experienced. It's why we don't write our characters taking showers. It's why we don't write our characters taking shits or going to the bathroom. We don't write our characters having their periods. We don't write our characters washing their hands or washing the dishes or doing their laundry. Like, you don't write the things that aren't necessary to the story because they're not necessary to the story. We all know when we say our character gets ready for bed that we don't need to explain what it's like brushing their teeth and using the bathroom and crawling into bed and trying to fall asleep unless it's important to the plot. So don't explain to me the status quo if it's a status quo I could have expected or assumed some way in any form. Now, if it is something wildly out there, completely different from any expectation I could have had for what a status quo is, what the normal for your character is, now I want to hear everything, right? I feel mine may have an opening like Percy Jackson. I feel very fun. The quick action kind of thing. So, okay. The two best examples of this one, weirdly enough, are both stories on AO3. One of them is Emily's Catch Me in Purgatory, and one of them is Hellenites at Astra. Both of these are status quo openings where we just open up the book on our main character doing what they do every day. Completely basic, completely normal. They're every day. No surprises here, except for us as readers. They're completely unexpected. So I'm going to drop my volume down again. And I'm going to start with Cyrena's Catch Me in Purgatory, which Ali has so kindly linked on AO3. So if you would like to go read it, you can go read along at home. Go ahead and give that a little click and then put it in your bookmarks and read it later. Once stream is over, go read the entire book because it's worth it. So Catch Me in Purgatory starts like this. There is also a playlist. This is a status quo opening, but the status quo is not what I expect. Chapter 1, Vanna. The morning sun has crept above the horizon line by the time I got out of the bunker. It's a later start than I wanted, but I'm here. But I'm out here now, so there's no use turning back. After securing the entrance hatch and checking the perimeter, I start forward on the supply run like intended. My steps imprint messy footprints into the dry earth beneath me. The dust powders up and follows me like a fleeting ghost while I walk. I steady myself with a deep breath and the air stings my lungs, the ash tickling my throat. In front of me is nothing but flat, barren land. To the left of me is nothing. To my right, nothing. There was always nothing. And there will continue to be nothing. I've never seemed to let myself believe that as I pass the rotting wooden beams and crumbling stone foundations, the remnants of an apparently previously inhabited town I've never seen as more than a scavenged landmark lies untouched to my left. I remember finding tools and bottled water in an almost intact home years ago. After the citizens fled or died off, people came and went, finding what they needed and fighting for more than they deserved. And after years of being picked through, it had nothing left to give. Now it lies useless and undisturbed as it sinks further and further into the land. Man, humanity was brutal. Quick little, quick little niblet of that first opening right there. That immediately covers all of the things that needs to be covered, right? It immediately covers what is the tone of this story. It is fucking pessimistic right off the beginning, at least for our character. This is dark. This is bad. Humanity is fucked. Everything's fucked. Everything's empty. Everything's hopeless. What the fuck is going on here? It sets an immediate pace for the story. I'm dragging my feet through this goddamn sand. It is hot. I am tired. I can't believe I have to deal with this. It tells me what the status quo is. What is the status quo? It's this. It's having to dig through the remnants of what used to be humanity and hope you find something. And it tells me, how does my main character feel about it? It tells me right there in enough words. To the left of me is nothing, to my right, nothing. There was always nothing, and there will continue to be nothing. It's one of those things of it's just nothingness. I joined to everything is empty and pointless. Yeah, pretty much. Like, it is a great way to set the tone of everything that you need to know right off the bat of, I know who this character is. I know what I need to know. I'm already in. I'm already confused as to why is everything in crumbles? Why are we in shambles? Why are we picking through houses? Why is humanity so brutal? Like, it's a really good hook. You ate, I fear, says Ollie. Yeah, it's good shit, man. This is a good way to do a status quo, because this status quo is not my morning. I do not have to wake up and do a perimeter check and then drag my ass to the nearest crumbled civilization to find some food for the day. Not my status quo. So it's a good way to start off your book, because we get all the things that we need. This is my morning. This is how Ollie wakes up every morning, actually, yes. This would be Ollie's status quo. So, if you want to go read that, Ollie has put the thing in there. Sorry I'm late, I was engrossed in killing my friends. So valid. It's okay, we've been talking about writing for an hour. So yeah, Ollie has given the link a couple of times to this. Go read it, it's a great book. I have not finished it myself yet, but oh my god, it is good shit. I can't stop with my nose. I'm gonna go get a fucking ice cube and put it on my nose. Okay. So, another example of this, because I want to give two examples here because they're both really good examples, is Ad Astra by Hellenite. Ad Astra is a B-Duo fanfic, like an Origins space-themed B-Duo fanfic. It's aliens and space and all of that good shit. Anyways, this is, I don't have this link here. Here, if you want to read Ad Astra by Hellenite, it's there. Help yourself. Here is how the status quo is set for Ad Astra. The regulator coupler twists smoothly under his wrench, eased by well-oiled parts and a steady hand, increasing the amount of fuel that's funneling into the engines by only a slight amount. It's not a huge repair, but Tubbo can already tell the difference, antennae flicking lightly as the humming whine from the engines changes in pitch to something more steady. He grins and flips the wrench into one of his lower hands, clambers out of the maintenance hatch in the floor, and toes it shut with a socked foot, so he won't accidentally fall into it later. Stretching his top arms above his head and the lower ones in front of him, Tubbo pops his back and flexes his wings out, only wincing in mild discomfort as the wound along his left side pulls uncomfortably. Rubbing at it absentmindedly with his lower right arm, Tubbo begins putting his tools away in neat order, singing under his breath to the music drifting in the speakers overhead. The engines are well taken care of enough that they don't rattle the Asachi, but he can pick up their vibrations with his antenna, bob his head in time to the pulsating beat. Tubbo's heard other pilots and travelers complain about the incessant trembling of the recycled air of their ships, how it drove them crazy, but it's never bothered him. He misses it, actually, whenever he's planetside, hates not having the comforting thrum of his ship around him, the whining drone of the engines and the smooth glide of machinery. Clicking his toolbox shut, Tubbo hefts it under one arm and makes sure it's properly stowed away, safety latches locking it in place so it won't go hurling around the next time he has to do some evasive flying. He spreads one hand out along the side of the Asachi, smiling fondly, stroking over the metal plating, fingertips tracing across grooves and rivets, knows the shape of each one by heart. This is the same energy here. This is status quo. This is business as usual. This is what Tubbo wakes up and does every day. There is nothing new or exciting or thrilling, no action, nothing. This is just an immediate set of status quo. But there is a lot laced into this. Number one, status quo, and how do you feel about it? He loves this. This is his normal. This is his engine. This is his ship. He's taking care of his spaceship. It's clearly something he cares about a lot. It's clearly something he finds a lot of joy and peace in. He talks about how other pilots find it annoying, but he loves it. He doesn't want to be planetside. This is where he belongs. It also immediately sets our who, because it immediately introduces, in a very, very natural way, no mirrors needed, no text of paragraph explaining character. It shows us he's got antennae. He's got wings. He's got 4 hands. It immediately sets us like an explanation of his character completely through motion. Where is it? Stretching his top arms above his head and the lower ones in front of him. Boom. We know he's got 4 arms. Tubbo pops his back and flexes his wings out. Boom. We know he has wings. Like, antennae flicking lightly is the humming whine. Whoa, he has antenna. We're learning things in the most natural way possible just by mentioning he has arms, just like you would any other character, except this is important. So, we could slip through the reading of my book and jump straight to Ad Astra. No, for real. But so it's all of those. And as much as this may sound like we have set the wrong tone, that we've set wrong tone, that we've set a very calm, very peaceful, very passive, very slow pacing, there are things etched in here, like the fact that he has a wound along his left side. Really little thing. But it's an immediate thing of, he has a wound. Why? How fresh? How did he get it? Is he in danger? Is he running from something? Is someone chasing him? Was it an accident? It's just a little tiny thing that it sets a possible pacing for the story. And the tone. The tone is quiet, beautiful appreciation of things. Like, Ad Astra has always been about that. Ad Astra has a lot of intensity. It has a lot of quick events. It has a lot of really intense battles, but that's never really been the tone of the story. The tone is all about the small moments, the quiet moments, the peaceful moments. That's what makes this book so special. It's got all the action, but it doesn't need to start with that because that's not the important piece. It's there, but that's not what we came here for, and it's not why we keep coming back. So there's that one. So those are the 2 ways I know of how to start something by showing us your character's everyday, boring, normal, status quo life in a way that's done well. It either needs to be wildly unexpected or it needs to be the main problem of the story. So there's status quo. Does that make sense? Any questions? Any comments? How red is my nose getting? Tell me in the comments below. I've just realized the main character is practically me with more trauma. There you go. Most authors can find themselves in their characters at least a little bit. Write what you know. Don't start your book the way Better Call Saul starts because it's a 5-minute montage and a Cinnabon. It took me 3 years to finish the pilot. Is that bad pacing? Is it correct? About as red as an oboe player mid-concert. Yeah, it's really bothering me. It is something that happens when I get nervous and overwhelmed. I don't know why. It just happens. And the more I think about it and the more I do it, the more I can't stop. I'm going to do my best to stop touching it, but I can already feel that I want to touch it again, like right now. It's really, really bothering me. So I'm going to do my best to not. I'm going to ice my nose at this point. This is my worst quirky character trait. You know, some characters, when they're nervous, they'll like crack their knuckles. Or some characters will run their hands through their hair. You know what I do? This. I scratch my nose. I walk into every job interview in my life with a bright red nose because the whole time I'm there, I'm just. So anyways, there's that. It literally looks normal. It's driving me crazy. Anyways, okay. I have 2 more ways to open books that I know of doing well, and both of those ways have 2 ways again. So I'm gonna keep going. Okay, so I took out the portal crystal ball thing part, so the main character isn't introduced yet. Okay. Oboe players don't get that red. Oh, well, there you go. I don't know anything about oboe players, so now I'm learning about oboes. I've made some learning. Okay. So, the next way to do books, first chapters, the next type of chapter 1 that I know of is an encyclopedic chapter 1. Oh, yeah, I could turn music back on for you guys. Yeah, sure. There we go. Okay. I don't know how loud that is. Anyways, the next type of chapter opening that I know of, or book opening, chapter 1, whatever it is encyclopedists, which is usually used for fantasy, specifically sci-fi based characters, or based stories. It doesn't have to be specifically sci-fi. I've just found that if it is a sci-fi story, you're gonna need this at some point, but any fantasy type universe, these encyclopedic openings work really well. They also can work for non-magical realms, which is actually one of my examples. But one way or another, if you have a magic realm, a new universe, a different species, a fable, a lore, some kind of special event that happens that is really important to it, whatever it is, encyclopedia based is a good way to start your story, because it starts outside the realm of the actual plot. It goes, here's the plot, let's put that over there. I need to explain some things first. Let's set the expectations of what actually is going on here. So those are encyclopedia based, and there are two different ways to do it. Main character based and narrator based. So either the main character is just is talking about, which usually will be in first person, is talking about the lore, the event, the fable, the story, the history of a place, or it's a narrator who's doing it for us. It's really one or the other. It's hard to think of another way to do it. I'm sure there are other ways, but I'm going to start with main character based because I feel like that is the less often used, where our main character is the one who is telling us about that event. Now, there are, how do I explain this? It doesn't have to be first person, okay? So encyclopedia based stories, they can be ones that start by your main character telling you about the event. I'm trying to think is it this one? Yes, okay. So I will start with this one. So this is a main character telling us the opening of the story. This is Girls of Paper and Fire. This is by Natasha Nagan. And Girls of Paper and Fire is a really, really good book. If you do want to look into it, trigger warning for some really dark, really heavy topics. It is a very intense book. It does talk about women's struggles a lot. It is a really, 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 really good book. But the book starts encyclopedia style, where it is the main character in first person giving us a little bit of a background into this world and how it works. Okay, so here's how this book starts. There is a tradition in our kingdom, one all castes of demon and human follow. We call it the birth blessing. It is such an old, deep-rooted custom that it's said even our gods themselves practiced it when they bore our race onto the earth. When babies die before their first year, there are whispers like leaves fluttering darkly on the wind. The ceremony was performed too late. The parents must have spoken during it. The shaman who executed the blessing was unskilled, a fake. Coming from the lowest caste, paper caste, fully human, my parents had to save for the full 9 months after the news of my mother's pregnancy. Though I've never seen a birth blessing ceremony, I've imagined my own so many times that it feels almost like a memory or some half-remembered dream. Picture smoke-cut night and darkness like a heavy black hand cupped around the world. Crackling fire. Standing before the flames, a shaman. His leathery skin webbed with tattoos, teeth sharpened to wolf-like points. He's bent over the naked form of a newborn just hours old. She's crying. On the other side of the fire, her parents watch in silence, hands clasped so tightly their knuckles are white. The shaman's eyes roll as he chants a Tao, painting its characters in the air with his fingers where they hang above the baby, glowing softly before fading away. And he comes to the crest of the prayer. A wind picks up. The grass stirs in a feathery rustle. Faster and faster the shaman chants, and louder the rustle and the wind, until the fire whips upward, a whirl of orange-red flame dancing high into the sky before suddenly flashing out. Blackness. The starlit night. Then the shaman reaches into the air where the fire had been for the object floating in its wake, a small egg-like golden pendant. But the pendant isn't what's important. What's important is what the pendant hides within. The baby's fate. My fate. Our kingdom believes words have power, that the characters of our language can bless or curse a life. Inside the pendant is a single character, one word that we believe will reveal a person's true destiny, and if my life will be blessed, as my parents hoped when they saved for my ceremony, or whether my fate is something far darker. Cursed years to be played out in fire and shadow. In 6 months, when I turn 18, the pendant will open, and its answer will finally be revealed. So, that is Girls of Paper and Fire. That is the opening of this book. It is an immediate setting of encyclopedic knowledge that we need to know of this world. Number 1, caste systems. Number 2, there's demons and humans. Number 3, we have a magic system going on. And part of that magic system is when a baby is born, they do a huge ceremony where a fire spits out a fucking amulet that has a word in it that we can't open until we're 18 and decides our fate. And we are 6 months away from opening main character's fate amulet. Okay? I suddenly know everything I need to know about this. I've got the tone. I've got the pacing. It's intense. I'm ready. I know everything I need to know about the world. Maybe not everything, but enough that I'm interested in what this person has built. And then you can start with the status quo. Chapter 1, our shop is busy this morning. Not even noon yet, and it's already packed with customers. The room bright with chatter. Tien's brusque voice cutting through the thick summer air. Sunlight streams in through the slated windows, drowsy with cicada song. Okay, great. But you wouldn't have caught me. You didn't catch me there, okay? Those are all status quo. Those are all the basic, the normal. You know, we got all of that. But what we needed was that opening, that encyclopedia opening that tells me what in the world we are interested in and why I should give a shit about this world. It is a good way to start. I like it a lot. Also, this book is really good. Seriously, go read it. I have the second one on my bookshelf over there, which is Girls of... I don't even remember. Girls of Storm and Shadow. That's what it's called. So, okay. That is Girls of Paper and Fire. That is encyclopedic opening, main character style, okay? The other style is encyclopedic opening, except narrator style. So usually third-person stories, and now we're telling the story through a narrator who is telling us about the legend, or the myth, or the rumor, or the magical amulets, or whatever it is. We have a narrator who's telling us about the story, and then we'll get into the normal world again. Right? And one of my favorite books of all time, I've talked about this on this channel before. This is Maniac Magee by Jerry Spinell. Spinell. There we go. Maniac Magee. I have to be very fragile with this book. As you can tell, it is very, very yellow. My mother got this book when she was in 5th grade. Which means I believe this book, this specific one, was printed sometime in the 80s. And so it's gone through a lot. So she read it when she was in 5th grade and gave it to me when I was in 5th grade, and I read it, and when I became a teacher, I read this exact copy to all of my students who were in 6th grade. It is a really good book. If you haven't read it, I 100% recommend it. I honestly want to read it on the channel, but it's not allowed. So you can't just read a whole book on a thing. But I'm going to read you the opening to this, which is a fantastic narrator-based encyclopedia opening, and it immediately grabs your attention. So, I have to be very careful opening this goddamn book, because it's falling apart at the seam, and I really need to go get it rebound. I have a couple books I need to go get rebound, because they've been read to hell. So, before the story. They say Maniac Magee was born in a dump. They say his stomach was a cereal box and his heart a sofa spring. They say he kept an 8-inch cockroach on a leash, and that rats stood guard over him while he slept. They say if you knew he was coming and you sprinkled salt on the ground and he ran over it, within 2 or 3 blocks he would be just as slow as everybody else. They say. What's true? What's myth? It's hard to know. Finsterwald's gone now, yet even today you'll never find a kid sitting on the steps where he once lived. The Little League field is still there, and the band show. Cobble's Corner still stands at the corner of Hector and Birch, and if you ask the man behind the counter, he'll take the clump of string out of a drawer and let you see it. Grade school girls in 2 mills still jump rope and chant, "Maniac, maniac, he's so cool. Maniac, maniac, don't go to school. Runs all night, runs all right. Maniac, maniac, kissed a bull." And sometimes the girl holding one end of the rope is from the west side of Hector, and the girl on the other end is from the east side. And if you're looking for Maniac Magee's legacy or monument, that's as good as any, even if it wasn't really a bull. But that's okay, because the history of a kid is 1 part fact, 2 parts legend, and 3 parts snowball. And if you want to know what it was like back when Maniac Magee roamed these parts, well, just run your hand over the movie seat and be very, very careful, not to let the facts get mixed up with the truth. That's chapter 1. And well, that's the opening. And then chapter 1 starts, Maniac McGee was not born in a dump. He was born in a house, a pretty ordinary house, right across the river from here in Bridgeport. So it starts with the legend that is Maniac McGee. It tells us what everybody says he was. And you have to wonder both, is any of that true? What part of that is true? And if it's not true, why do people say that? Why do people think that? Again, if you do want to read this book, trigger warning, it does have some dark tones in it. Specifically racism. It's racist. It's a racist book. It's not a racist book. It's a book that deals with racism very heavily and very bluntly and very real. So please, 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 genuinely go read that book. It's one of the best books I've ever read. I believe everybody should read it at least once in their life, just for the sake of you need to, because it's good for your brain. So there's that. Those are your encyclopedia types. Introduce me to the world, whether it's a normal world like Maniac McGee and you're telling me the legend of your main character, or if it's a fantasy world like Girls of Paper and Fire and you need to tell me about the shaman and the exploding fire and the amulets. One of those two ways are both really good ways to start your thing, and it sets all of the things that you need. It sets your tones, it sets your promises, it sets your expectations. Right? All right. Ugh. My body's falling apart. I'm falling apart. Stream, are you falling apart yet? I'm starting to feel like I'm falling apart. I need to not be thinking. I also need to take a breath and breathe for a second because I've spoken so much in the past hour and a half and so quickly. I hope any of this means anything to anybody or any of this makes literally any sense. But I can only hope. All right. Type number 3. This is 6. Type number 3. Type number 3 is the one that people expect. Fully honestly, this is the one that people expect, which is action. It's a good fucking way to start a book. It's basic, sure, but it is a good way to start a book. Action is a great way to hook people in, especially if you have a very fast-paced story, a very intense story that leads into, especially if you have a adventure, say like a hero's journey, which is a super common type of story where it's like your main character starts in a little small town and doesn't want to chase after the whatever it is that he's supposed to chase after, especially if it's Chosen One style or whatever it is. And it goes from very slow paced to very fast paced, but it has to start slow pace. Action style starting is a great way to move outside of the plot, get us invested, and then get back into the slow stuff. That's what I was talking about promising the interesting thing before it happens, just so that people are understanding that there is more to come and that there is good to come. And I think the best way to do it is this, but I will get you that in a second. This is another great way to do it. The ways that you can do action-based inside your narratives are you can either do main character-based action or you can do non-main character-based action. Both of them are fantastic ways to do it. The Invisible Life of Addie Laurie is a great example of a first chapter that it starts with the main character mid-action. Now, is it necessarily action? No, but I mean, we're literally mid-action. We're running is what we're doing. And it is something that, listen to it and hear the tone setting and the pacing setting, because you will immediately feel the tone of grief, of loss, of feeling like you're lost, or that you're losing something, or that, that very somber tone, and also the pace of we are running from something, and some time is always running out kind of feeling, right? Listen to this opening here. Okay. July 29th, 1714. A girl is running for her life. The summer air burns at her back, but there are no torches, no angry mobs, only the distant lanterns of the wedding party. The reddish glow of the sun as it breaks against the horizon cracks and spills across the hills, and the girl runs, skirts tangling in the grass as she surges towards the woods, trying to beat the dying light. Voices carry in the wind, calling her name. Adeline! Adeline! Her shadow stretches out ahead, too long, its edges already blurring, and small white flowers tumble from her hair, littering the ground like stars. A constellation left in her wake, almost like the one across her cheeks. 7 freckles. One for every love she'd have, that's what Estelle had said, when the girl was still very young. One for every life she'd lead, one for every god watching over her. Now they mock her, those 7 marks. Promises, lies. She's had no loves, she's lived no lives, she's met no gods, and now she's out of time. But the girl doesn't slow, doesn't look back, doesn't want to see the life that stands there waiting, static as a drawing, solid as a tomb. Instead, she runs. It is such a good opening, because immediately I want to know a million things. Why is she running? Why is she running from the sun? Why is she running from a wedding? Why is she out of time? You know, it's an immediate set into action. And the next chapter does what every book does and puts us into the status quo and shows us something a little bit slower, a little bit more normal, a little bit more everyday. But you've already set the tone by chapter 1 of, I am running, and what I'm running is out of time. Like, it is an immediate set of all of the things we know, and it sets that the current status quo is bad. Our character is not happy with it, and something is going to have to change. Now, the other way to do this, because not every book can start that way if your character, if you don't want to put your character into the worst situation first, and then be like, ooh, let's rewind and see how we got here, which you can do, but some people don't like that feeling. The other way you can do it is Aragon, which is a non-main character experiencing the action first and then jumping over to your main character. It is a little bit contested. Not everybody likes this, but you don't have to start your book with your main character. I have Hush Hush over there and Fallen over there, both of which are books that do not open with the main character. They have a prologue outside of the main character's world because the main character's life is boring and mundane, and we don't need to follow them going to school that day. What you can follow instead is something far more interesting that's happening somewhere else in the world to somebody else that will somehow affect your character. Whether if in Hush Hush, that is somebody falling, like a fallen angel. Whether in Fallen, if that is a priest who is being, his life is being stolen by a Nephilim. Whether that's in Aragon, where we're watching a shade steal an egg from an Urgle, an elf with an Urgle. You can follow anybody you want in any part of the world for any part of the story, as long as it will come back and affect our main character, right? So, speaking of it, let me start with an Aragon. My nose is getting worse, by the way. It itches worse. I don't know how it could itch worse, but it is like I want to take my skin off. It is really starting to be crazy. Okay. It hurts. It's not itchy anymore at this point. It is painful. I'm dying. Like, I've itched my skin raw at this point. I don't know why. I really don't know why. Okay. Ignored. Aragon. Prologue. Wind howled through the night, carrying a scent that would change the world. Pause. Best. There you go. That is a first fucking, that's a first sentence. The rest of these, good openings. They're good openings. But that sentence is such a good book opener. Wind howled through the night, carrying a scent that would change the world. Immediately I am invested, right? A tall shade lifted his head and sniffed the air. He looked human, except for his crimson hair and maroon eyes. He blinked in surprise. The message had been correct. They were here. Or was it a trap? He weighed the odds, then said icily, spread out. Hide behind trees and bushes. Stop whoever is coming, or die. Around him shuffled 12 Urgles with short swords and round iron shields painted with black symbols. They resembled men with bowed legs and thick, brutish arms made for crushing. A pair of twisted horns grew above their small ears. The monsters hurried into the bush, grunting as they hid. Soon, the rustling quieted and the forest was silent again. The shade peered around a thick tree and looked up at the trail. It was too dark for any human to see, but for him, the faint moonlight was like sunshine streaming between the trees. Every detail was clear and sharp to his searching gaze. He remained unnaturally quiet, a long pale sword in his hand, a wire-thin scratch curved down the blade. The weapon was thin enough to slip between a pair of ribs, yet stout enough to hack through the hardest of armor. And I'm not going to read you the whole thing because it is like a several page thing. But first off, amazing first sentence. Hello, random person. And this first chapter starts with that shade that we just read about. I won't read you the whole thing. Like I said, it's a long first chapter. Or it's like a 4-page prologue. I'm just not going to read the whole thing. But It starts with this shade encountering a party with an elf carrying a dragon egg, using his Urgles to try to steal the dragon egg, and the elf blips it away, sacrificing her life for that egg, and the shade kills the elf, sets the entire forest ablaze, and goes out searching for it. So already we have set that the tone and the pacing is that egg is fucking important. That is an important egg. So important that people are willing to die and kill for it, right? That every race is out here searching for it. That shades have a place above Urgles. That elves had it and it's been taken from them. Why? What is it? What is important about it? How do I get your hands on it? And then the next chapter, the first chapter, starts with the very boring, basic, everyday stuff. It's just regular Aragon. Aragon knelt in the bed of trampled reed grass and scanned the tracks with a practiced eye. The prince told him that the deer had been in the meadow only a half hour before. It's just the main character hunting. It's not interesting. But he finds that egg. And that's how we take this really intense, really cool action and bring it to our very normal, very rural, calm, casual farm boy. We brought the action to him by showing you the action. If we had missed everything there and it just started with chapter 1 of he finds the egg, it wouldn't have been nearly as compelling of a story because we wouldn't have known how important that item was, what it actually is, and that people were searching for it, that there's immediately stakes of danger, fast-pacing, dark tone. It's a really, really cool way to do it. So anyways, there are your action-based starts. Those are the ones that people know the best. They kind of understand them. That's why I saved them for the last, because honestly, most people get how to do that. Most people can write an action story. It's just kind of figuring out when to write it and how to write it. Oh, I'm going to start my music up again. I apologize for the sneezing. And for my nose, but I can't apologize for that. Except for to my nose. But yeah. So, anyways, those are your action-based starters, your status quo starters, and your encyclopedic starters. Now, are there other ways to start books? Yeah, there's about 1 billion of them. These are just some basic ones of if you don't know how to do your chapter 1, it kind of gives you some examples of what you need, how to use it, how to do it, different ways that you can kind of do it. And you can turn all of those into 1 billion different options. I mean, the options are literally endless. Like I said, you can literally write your character waking up to an alarm clock. Now, are you going to get it published? Maybe not, because a lot of publishers really, really, really hate that trope. Even if you think you can do it better, or you can do it right, or whatever, it's still a sketchy one to go with. But it's always an option. You know? Anyways, I'm so hungry, but let me check in with chat here. It's been like an hour and a half. How do you guys feel? What do you think? What are your thoughts? Has this any, which trope I spaced out for a second? The stupid fucking waking up to an alarm clock. Dangerous one. But has this been at all interesting? Has it been helpful? Do you use any of these in your writing? Do you hate one of these? Some people really hate encyclopedic openings. I just any opinion you have. And if you're watching this as a VOD, put it in the comments below, because I'm genuinely interested. I want to do more stuff like this. I want to do more of it. I know it's better as scripted, written out, edited, and posted as YouTube videos, but admittedly, I take a lot of time to do those. The last time I did a scripted, edited, posted video, it took me like 9 months, because it took me like forever to film and edit. So like, this is a much easier way to do it. You get the content out a lot faster, but yeah. I will still probably edit this down to a video, but we'll see. Yeah. I enjoyed listening even though I ain't a writer. I'm glad you enjoyed listening. I do just go on rants. This was great and I want more. Sweet. Admittedly, I don't write, but it was nice. That is totally fine. You don't have to be a writer to enjoy the writing talks. I hate all openings because I'm going to have a miserable time starting a book no matter what. And that's valid. That's valid. That can just be where your opinion is. And you know what? Sometimes that is just the truth. Starting a book sucks. It's hard. I don't even know which of these billion options I'm going to do for my nano book yet. I haven't decided. Have you? Have you decided the opening style you're going to try? This has been very helpful. I'm glad. All openings can theoretically work. My favorite beginnings are usually ones that plant some type of confusion where you want to try and find out the stuff that's happening is happening. Yeah, that is great for any mystery type. I love books that drop you in the middle of a mystery and you got to figure out where the fuck you are. Like, it's just it's a really fun way to do it. But yeah, every type of opening can work if you're giving all of the right things. Promise your tone, promise your pacing, set your expectations. However, I also sometimes like info dumping openings because it can be really frustrating to crack open a book and immediately feel confused, even if it's intentional. It's fun to immediately start learning information and being like, oh, that makes sense, and like it sucks me in sometimes. Right, but you can do both. There's a super, super thin line between an info dump opening and an info dump opening like an encyclopedic opening, like Girls with Paper and Fire, where you are immediately drawn into the story because it is explained to you. Here is this world, here's how it works, here's where we are, here is my name, here is the setting, here's all your information. I know everything. I'm interested in it. But it's not so much information that I'm overwhelmed and bogged down and bored. I don't need to know every detail. Find your balance. Same thing with the confusing openings. Leave me wondering, leave me confused, leave me not sure where we are, but don't leave me so confused that I don't have anything to grab on to even be interested in. You have to give me enough to hold on to, but not so much that my arms are full. It's really a delicate balance between the two, if that makes sense. Promise your tone, promise your pacing, set your expectations, gay. Perfect. Now that's how you write a book. Yes, sir. If you guys want, I'd be super happy to set up a way for you guys to send me chunks of your stories. I'll set up like a submission thing. I will keep it to, you can only do one submission per round. So like, I don't want to edit like 3 of your things for one stream, one submission per round. And then I'll probably cap it at like 500 words, just because anything longer than that can start to be a lot. Do you like my first chapter, Xander? They're my favorite, Ali. You're my favorite first chapter. But yeah. So all of this to say, good luck with Nano coming up. We'll be doing it together. If you want to do it with us, we do it on Discord. We have a whole channel for it. It's really fun. Join us in the Discord if you haven't yet, because it's genuinely so much fun. We do it on voice calls. It's a really good experience. Sorry, I hiccuped. So, yeah. That's what I have to say. Any questions or anything? Otherwise, I'm fucking starving and I need to go get dinner. I did not eat dinner before this, which was a bad idea on my part. And I have been talking nonstop for almost 2 hours. And I've done nothing else. This was supposed to be an art stream. I made everybody fight over it, and they picked art, and then I didn't do it. Go eat? I will. Go food, man. So true. Alright. If we have no questions, I will set up a raid. This seemed like such a fast stream, but also I'm so hungry I cannot fathom doing any longer than this. I will get an art stream out for you guys since you guys really enjoy having art streams. I will get another one out for you. I might also play God of War again soon just because I really enjoyed it. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. I know I'm not supposed to stream tomorrow, but let me go take a look at who's streaming. We can go raid somebody. Let me see. Oh, I haven't seen you in a while. Sure. Yeah, why not? All right, I'm going to get you loaded up over here. We're going to go to Beanie Bugs. I'm going to raid you over there. I think I've only raided her once. If it's weird or whatever it is, yeah, run away and I never sent you there. But otherwise, go have fun. Have a good night. I'll be on the Discord later tonight, and we'll see. Maybe I'll stream tomorrow just for the fuck of it. It'll be like an alt stream on my main channel because I don't have an alt channel. I do, but I don't use it. Maybe I'll dick around and play God of War in like the middle of the day tomorrow and just catch everybody off guard. Who knows? Only God knows my plans. Anyways, enjoy the raid, enjoy the stream, enjoy your nights, enjoy your dinners. I love you all. Good night, gang. Good night. Be polite on your raid. Be kind. Love raid. Bye, everyone. Whoa.